Aloha guys, Kolo here, host of the podcast Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship, where you're listening right now. So thank you again for tuning in. I also wanted to tell you guys about an incredible tool that you can use for your fitness at home or in any fitness space that you have, or even if you're out on a field, you can attach it to the fence and it's super, super dynamic. It's the Anchor Fitness cable machine or cable row machine. And it's just this small, like portable rowing machine. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just a cable tool that you can bring with you anywhere. So it's going to be super helpful if you're training your team outside, if you're training maybe your private clients outside or at your home gym, or if you just have a home gym and you're looking for something that's not going to take up too much space, but give you that really nice dynamic movement that you can get from a cable machine. This is the one to go with. You can get dual systems so that you get that double action. And I'm so, so proud to be a part of their growth, and we have an affiliate code with them. So TASCOFIT11, TASKOFIT 11, and you can get $50 off any purchase of $458 or more. So, which is what you'll be spending even on the lower model, but I promise you, it's not going to be one that you regret. So be sure to plug that in and you guys can get $50 off of that. So enjoy the episode, guys, and mahalo. Aloha, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. I'm joined today with two warrior women I've had the pleasure of being side by side on the field playing hurling and camogie, Shelly Hackett and Amy Brett. So Shelly Hackett comes from Tyrone in Ireland, and she's got a background in orthopedic and neurosurgery nursing, as well as personal training. And then Amy as well, she's got, so she comes from County Mayo, and she is in business and law degree. I'm sorry, you have a business and law degree from UCD, and then you moved to New York about 9 years ago. So I've met you guys through the team, which I fucking love. Amy, I love you, especially too with your like narrating whenever everything's going off. And then Shelly, Shelly Hackett. So Shelly, we call her, you with your motivation and just always your positive attitude on the field. So you guys have gone into business together with Slainte Retreats, which is why I've asked you guys here today, other than just, I miss you guys and want to have a conversation.
Yay, we miss you too, Kolo.
Well, thank you guys so much for being on today. I appreciate your time, and let's get right into it.
Sounds good.
So where did the idea for Slainte Retreats come about? Like, what was the conversation with you guys? And then we'll kind of like backtrack with like just everything from your backgrounds leading up to it.
Mm-hmm. So Slainte Retreats was something I had kind of been toying with putting together for a couple of years. My whole background, obviously in nursing, personal training, has always been health and fitness. And I feel like at the moment out there with social media, there was just a space where like there was a lot of misinformation, bombarded with, all this information, but people were just starved of knowledge. So, over in New York, we go away for girls' weekends away. And I was like, it would be really cool to do some kind of like a retreat or get a group of girls together and a safe space where if people wanted to ask questions or find out more about the health and fitness or their health and fitness journey, that they could ask those questions. So just toying with the idea for a couple of years, kind of knew that this was something I'd love to build. And myself, Amy, and two of our other friends, Laura and Neve, went away for a weekend. And it's probably one of the first times that I said it out loud, like, this is actually what I would love to see myself doing at some point. And of course, the girls were like super, super supportive. And once I kind of said it, I was like, okay, right, I need to start like thinking about how I can make this come about. It was during COVID times as well. So I knew that it wouldn't probably happen in that particular, like the year 2020, maybe not even 2021. But with Amy's background then, I obviously like leaned on her for, just like how would I logistically put this all together? And she was obviously very open to helping. So it was like, the answer was right in front of me. I was like, let's just, me and Amy start this together. I was so inspired by the events and how she built a community here in New York, like the fundraising events that she has done and the size of the football team that she has built. So I was like, no better woman to have on board. And when I kind of put it to Amy, of course, like she was very excited, and we are like, okay, let's start like building something here. The vision then came to light a little bit more.
Perfect, Michelle. Awesome. Shelly. I don't know why I'm calling you Michelle right now.
I know Michelle's very formal.
I know. That's like when people call me Courtney, I'm like, okay, yes, yes. And then Amy, so how did it come about for you? Obviously we got Shelly's take. So, and also fundraising for the football team. I don't really know too much about your history actually within like Camogian football. I just met you, knew you're awesome. And like, you know, the year we won the final, it was just, I was like, yeah, you guys are great. So
I think Michelle has been very generous there now as well. Like a lot of Sláinte is her baby. I have had a good few years working, like organizing events. So right now we have ODR football team that I helped set up about 4 years ago. And right now we've like 100 members. So that has grown phenomenally over the last number of years. And I think it was a mixture of that. And Shelly has been beside me as I've organized like fundraising events. We did a walk for a girl that was murdered in Ireland, and there was like nearly 800 people at it, which is also as much as organizing, it's also the Irish community coming together. So it's not just like, oh, I'm so great. It's absolutely not. It's not because I'm a part of a great community. But I love like the background of like an event, like the organizing, the logistics, like how are we going to get this there? How are we going to get people here? How are we going to promote the word? That kind of stuff is what gets me going. And I think that's what Shelly didn't have in terms, like she had everything else. Like she had the nutrition, she had the want to like help people and teach people, educate people that like fitness doesn't have to be scary. And, you know, there's so much more than just going on a diet when it comes to your health and fitness. So I think the only thing that was holding her back was that she didn't believe in herself to organize things. But I can guarantee you she's more than capable. She just doesn't think that way. But I think as well, when especially for Shelly, this has been her lifelong dream. You are just afraid that it's going to go tits up. Yeah. So it was more that she was like, well, I know that Amy can organize things. So if that part goes smoothly, like I can do the rest. So I think it was more so that, you know, it's like a fear. Everyone has a fear when they're starting off. And I think that was her fear. And that's where I came into play then.
And still to this day, like Slainte Retreats would still not be off the ground, only that Amy came on board. And like I needed that push and someone to like actually believe that this could be a thing. Sure. And Amy did that for me. She was like, let's get going. The minute Amy came on board, it was like, boom, website up, boom, Instagram page up, boom, we've got the date of our first retreat. I was like, holy shit. But it was brilliant. It's exactly what I needed, because that fear was just holding me back. Like, what if no one wants to come? What if I run a retreat and no one turns up? Like I needed someone just to be like that support and say like, no, we're actually building like something that is needed in New York, in the communities that we are involved in. Like it is needed. And yeah, we just, with Amy's background and her drive and my vision, it just was a really good fit. And thankfully it's off to a good start.
Going well.
So how long have you guys been in business at the moment?
So we launched, it was February, I think February 21st was our anniversary, was literally the day that we hit that, like, website is now live, Instagram is now live.
Of this year?
Of this year. And we ran our first retreat in May. Was it mid-May? May was our first retreat? Yeah.
May the 15th, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we had a couple of months from that launch date. We had a couple of months to kind of get marketing, get the word out. And again, when it comes to, we talk about, you know, communities and especially the Irish community, the way people rallied behind us and reshared our page, supported us, reached out, like we were blew away because we didn't know what way it would be received. We didn't know if people would really get the concept or not. And everyone just got behind it. And we were just so blown away by the support.
I mean, you definitely have that magic too. Like personally for me, knowing you a little bit longer, Shelly, like anytime I've seen you do anything, like everybody like tends to rally behind you. You're doing your Pilates classes, boom. All of a sudden you were up on the, what was it? Like, I don't know if it's Gaelic or Celtic, the guy who runs the fitness stuff in New York.
Clan Health.
Which one?
Clan Health.
Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Yeah.
And then you're doing like that live one. I remember doing that too. So it's just, you know, you've got that spunk too. And obviously to have the Amy there as well, like as the backbone essentially too. It's not easy to like organize this shit. It's not easy to rally people like and be able to keep everything in like priority, because that's what gets overwhelming for me as well. I'm just like, go ahead.
I think if it's like something you're really passionate about though,
yeah,
people see, that's what people see. Like I am really passionate in helping people in health and fitness, right? Anyone who sends me a DM or a text message, like I will give them as much information as they want. I'm not going to be that person that like shout all my beliefs from like the rooftops, right? But the minute someone needs me, I am there and I am all there. So I guess with like these retreats, it's like, okay, well, people want to come, people want to learn. Like what I do day to day, I teach in a college where students are coming to become personal trainers. So if I am teaching them this information, which is science-based, you know, information, why am I not giving it to more people? Like let's create a space where people can come if they are wanting to learn and hear this advice, you know, and support them as much as possible.
Sure. So Amy, how have you been able to kind of harness this and, you know, bring your own to it, and just I guess, where did your belief in all of this come from too? Like, that's all.
I think I just thought when Shelly told me the idea, I was like, oh my God, why has this not been done already? Like, New York is the wildest, fastest city, I think, in the entire world. And even if you, like, when I say to people now, like back in Ireland, like home, like, you know, you might come across someone you haven't seen in years. They're like, where are you now? Or whatever. And you're like, New York. And they're like, oh my God, it's mental. Like, it's perceived as such a crazy, busy life. Yeah. And I think as well, like when it comes to work and jobs and whatnot, like you're expected to do more, I feel like than in other parts of America. Like, this rat race life that all these New Yorkers live. And, you know, you should be in the office by 8:30, or you're kind of being like, where are they? And if you're not in the office until 6 p.m, you're not doing your job right. And it can be really hard to like break away and just relax, and you just get wound up, and there's always something to do. And then you're like, I live in New York, I can't be sitting at home, like I have such a great city here, I feel guilty doing nothing. Like the days that you have on the couch, like that I'd have had home in my own Ireland, like whatever, because there's nothing to do. I get such guilt when I'm sitting around the couch here in New York. So I'm like, oh my God, what a day wasted. Like there's some people that want to live here, and like, you know, so I felt like when she said to me, I was like, oh, this is so, so key to a lot of people. And I feel as well that a lot of people want to switch off, but they just don't know where to start. And even when you're heading away on the retreats or whatever, like you're still kind of doing stuff, but like you're taking a massive step back. So you're still not like, oh, wasting your day. Like you're going up, you're hiking, you know, you're doing a Pilates class, you're doing meditation, you're eating healthy food, like you're sitting in a hot tub, might be relaxing in the sun or whatever. So it's not like you don't have that guilt of like, oh, I didn't do anything, but you come away so refreshed. And I was like, wow, this is so badly needed. And I was like, this is such a genius idea. So I was like, yep, sign me up.
I think you're giving people like the space to quiet their mind, right? So we never really get a chance to step out of like the stress, right? Even when you're not stressed at work, it's the stress of like the noise, the environment. Like you're walking down the street, cars are tooting, and people are having aggro with each other. And like, even if you're not in the stress, you're hearing everyone else's stress. And it's just like getting people out. Like when me and Amy designed these retreats, it was like, right, keep people active. Yes, they want to like, you know, come away and, you know, be occupied and doing things, but let's also give them like activities where they're going to be in their own, you know, they'll have time to like let their mind switch off. So meditation, Pilates, even going on a hike, right? Like it's so quiet and you're walking along in nature and you hear like just the only thing you have to worry about is just like, you know, the next like hour, or, you know, your biggest worry is like, oh, let's have a conversation about absolutely nothing. You know, it's like, it's really having like the space to like just shut your mind down and just be present in the moment. So the way we designed these retreats is that we wanted that. We didn't want to like pack them busy with lots and lots of activities. We have designed it so that people are active, but it's also like their mind gets a chance to like switch off, basically.
Sure. I mean, I think that's something that's missing within the United States on the whole, although there's some places that are a little bit more, I don't want to say lax, but there's an understanding for quality of life. And that's what I find that Europe in general in that area understands. Like, you know, when I was in Spain, I lived there, like they literally would window shop during siesta, like the 2 to 3 hour window of like, you know, everybody thinks it's nap time, but it's not just nap time. Like, yes, you can regenerate, recharge, but you can go home and have almuerzo, the lunch with your family, just take time to read, relax before you go back to work. Now, obviously in like the States, everybody's like, no, I just want to finish it and get it done with. Understood. but you're missing that slower, like just take a second to just be in your space, like you said, like with your mind, and it's nice because the whole town kind of shuts down, which you're like, fuck, like I need to go somewhere, I need to get something. But at the same time, it's like, you can browse, you can take your time, and that's something I really appreciated in a lifestyle. And like even here, it's kind of like a mix of that, which is really nice in Hawaii. But we definitely miss that. And especially in New York. Now, I love New York City. I learned so much from New York City, but I think it's, at least for me and for certain people, I think it's just a moment in time to be like in the thick of it, I mean, for some, they can stay there forever, but I'm from South Jersey. Like I'm from land, like nature, like the Garden State, like the part where it's called the Garden State for a reason, and the shore. So I grew up with that nature, and I knew that New York was never going to be my forever. Like I always wanted to go to Ireland, always wanted to live in like Spain or Ireland, and still the goal, but it's just because I want that nature, that natural connection. And you can really only get it when you quiet things down, and you can definitely get it in New York too. Like you guys are taking them to, like I've seen upstate New York. Where have you gone thus far? As for either of you?
Where do we go with our retreats in New York? Yeah, we head up to Hunter, which is about 2.5 hours drive out of here. The house is lovely. It is literally in the middle of nowhere. Like even just to like walk out the back door on the Saturday morning and just hear the birds, it's like, oh wow, this is crazy. Or like go down to the lake and hear the stream. Like the feedback we get from our ladies that come, it's the break they never thought they needed, right? Because we get so caught up in the day-to-day in New York, and that just is life, and it becomes a habit that you get up, you go to work, you come home, you go to training, you go, it's go, go, go. But it's not until you step out of that and you're like, oh wow, actually this is what I needed. It's kind of like a really nice reset. And just again, like walking around outside in your bare feet, grounded with nature, like it's so refreshing.
And that's what I was saying before too about New York. Like there's an amazing part of that is learning to be on the go, like having that fire, having that drive. Like we have that on the field, it's just get after the ball, get after your goal, whatever it is. Yes, but that can also only last so long. You're not playing a game 24/7. You're in training, you're keeping it up, but there is active recovery. And I think that's what, Slainte Retreats is. It's active recovery. And it's nice that you guys have created that. Is it the same house that you guys go to each time as of right now?
Yeah. I looked for properties for about a year. I had a list in Airbnb and I kept putting in properties, and it was literally, it probably took the year until we came across this house, and I was like, Amy, this is the one. Like this has it all. And as I say, it took a year to even like find it. And we would have went there even before going to see it, because we just knew it had like everything that we wanted a house to have for these retreats. And then we actually went up, we met the owners. They were amazing. They've been so accommodating. And we literally feel like we struck lucky with this house. Yeah.
Awesome. So when you guys created Slainte Retreats, is it just something still that's kind of like off the cusp club, or did you guys make it LLC? Let's get into a little bit of those details. What is the Slainte Retreats technically, if anything?
So for now, I mean, me and Amy are both working full time. So our main goal for this was to just build a community, right? So taking ladies out of the city, getting them to decompress. A lot of our ladies are coming together because they are lonely. They don't know many other people in New York. Now, we all have had that experience of being able to like join a football team, join a camogie team, have ready-made friends, right? But there's so many ladies out there that don't have that, or don't have that easy kind of connection. So we didn't start this as a business. We started this as a way of building a community. And that's how we see it going. And that's the way it has been going. Like, it's not just like come for the weekend away and then we leave and that's it, right? We look after the ladies that have came to the retreat. We put them into a WhatsApp group. We organize Pilates classes in the park. We've organized brunches. Like, we want to keep building those retreats, amalgamating that community and continuing that relationship, right? So that's kind of where we see this going and how we want it to go. We want Slainte Retreats to be a community, not just a weekend away and then we lose touch with the relationships that we formed on that weekend. So we don't really see it as a business, and we see it more so as a community.
But there is cost, right? So obviously you have to rent the house, unless like obviously you found a house that is interested in kind of sponsoring it, but that's very rare.
No.
And oh,
we would love to find a house like that, but
yeah.
no.
So it's just kind of, again, this podcast is to help others who want to do exactly what you're doing, who want to do what I'm doing. Like I'm kind of in the same boat with Hawaii hurling, right? Like it's not LLC, not anything. I literally created a name so that people could find it and you could fucking play hurling. Like that's all that's what I want to do. We find each other, you know, and there's so much politics that go into even like the sanctioning of it or whatever. It's like, I'll just play in the fucking backyard. How about that? Like, and get more people to come and play, and then we'll just play. Like that's how we'll, you know, that's how it'll thrive and survive. And that's what I hope to see for it too, is just keeping the heart of the game. So I understand what you're saying with like keeping the heart of Slainte Retreats too. So how, I guess my question is, how are you funding it? Are the people who are attending, are they paying at least their own way? Like how is that working? If you don't mind getting into it to help our listeners.
No. So right now we're not making any money off it. I think that's why we don't really see it as a business. Like we're not making a huge loss, but it does cost us personally to go on these retreats.
Right.
But it's in the long term things, like I'd love to think like in 2, 3/5 years time that Sláinte will be a fully functioning business that we will be fully involved in, and we won't have any other jobs around. It'll be just our main jobs. But right now we charge the ladies to come, and it depends, then the pricing depends on which room you want, because you can have a private room with a king bed, you can have a private room with a queen bed, you can have somebody share the room with you, or you can have more than one person share the room too, depending on the room selection. That's where the costs go to. Sure. But compared to other retreats, we're actually quite reasonable, and it varies. Like I think the lowest starting is like 600 and it goes up to just under 1,000 for the whole weekend, which includes everything. Then that's not just paying for your bed, that's paying for your food, your activities, like Shelly's nutritional advice, all that kind of good stuff. But as of now, we still are just under breaking even, but we're not like sad about it either, because good things come to those who wait, and Rome wasn't built in a day, as they say. Sláinte definitely wasn't built in a day either. But for now, like we're just hitting into our 3rd retreat now, and we've had more than 6 girls at every retreat so far, which is good. Like we don't want massive numbers either. It's not the point of it, because you'd lose the touch. So we always like aim to have between like around that 8-10 figure. So it's going well. So it can only get better, but there definitely is. I think with every business, you have to put money up for it to get going.
Yep.
So we're just looking that we're benefiting from it, because if we were to pay it to go away, like you'd be paying that money anyway, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And your business is people. Right. So even though you don't want to like call it business, because it's like business has such a negative term sometimes, but your business can be your community. I met an incredible group of people. They're from Jersey too. They're Dominican. They're out here. I just met them the other day. They were helping me out with something to build my space. I got there, their energy was pumping. They had the Spanish music playing. Like I heard them speaking Spanish. I was like, oh my God, I'm home. And it's funny, introduce myself. It's Rip Fitness over in Waipahu for any of my listeners that are around. And just their energy was there. Their space was like, it had their energy, and it's really cool to see and feel that. And I'm sure that's exactly what your folks who are going on the retreat are feeling as well. And that's, you know, that's that passion. And then it helps to have that organization, because if you don't have an organization, and we know even with the team, right? Like if people aren't showing up to practice, so they're all over the place. Like it's really hard to kind of build together. It's we'll rally and also understand like, okay, what's our next move? Because nobody's kind of on the same page at all times. So, you know, with Amy and I don't know if it's both of you that come up with it, but with the agendas and kind of just that open communication with your clients, what do you call them? Just visit
guests.
Like guests. Yeah. Thank you very much. Words are important. So your guests, you know, it's good to keep that agenda and that organization. So it just helps everybody stay in time and stay in the know. I'm still working on that myself. So
we have been like, we've had for a business, for us starting out, right? And again, like what I was saying at the start, like the fear of like, God, will anyone show up? Will anyone get the concept that we're trying to do here? And, you know, Amy's the voice in my head that's just like, go, come on, we're doing it. You're passionate about building this. We want to build a community. Let's just do it, right? We have been, for this to be like a startup and us to be in our first year, the first 2 retreats that we have ran, we have had the most amazing ladies. Like these ladies just want to come, meet new people, do something different, find out a little bit about health and fitness. You know, we get questions like, oh, do you have to be super fit to come on these retreats? Like, absolutely not. You're coming on these retreats to learn something that maybe you didn't know before you came here, right? So me and Amy get pumped every Sunday evening when we're leaving a retreat. We are buzzing, right? Even if we have lost money, maybe not broke even, we're still buzzing because we have just had a great weekend with a great bunch of women who have felt, you know, that they've came away with like friendships. And we always ask this question on the Saturday night. We do like a fire pit, kind of sit around, hot chocolates, marshmallows, and we always ask the question, okay, what made you decide to come in the retreat? And honestly, some of the answers like would just warm your soul. And it's like, you know what, this is why we're doing it, right? Because someone felt lonely and now they don't feel lonely anymore, or somebody felt disconnected or lost in New York and now they don't anymore. And this is why it's like we want to have all these like continuing things like the Pilates in the park, like the brunches, because we want to keep building and give these women the opportunity to find friendships, you know, through us. And that's really what lights the fire in our bellies.
Is it just women so far?
So far, yes. We have been asked to do men's retreats. We've been asked to do mixed retreats as well. Yeah, couples retreats. But I think you could spread yourself too thin and try to do everything at once. Like we're just trying to build each retreat we come away, we send our guests like Google surveys to fill out so that we can keep continuing to build these retreats bigger and better before we start like, again, just diluting it all by like, you know, grasping at like every kind of group that we cut out there. So at the minute, it's just ladies, and it's been amazing. But we love, like, that's our vision going forward, is that yes, we will have other retreats available to other groups, but for now it's just the women.
Ladies, let's go. We call it here mana wahine. So like power of the woman, like as far as I understand that. Now everybody out there who's listening, but that's usually what one of my students will tell me from like Chikundo. Every time like we have like a really good session or just there's a lot of strong women within there. It's like mana wahine, like it's such a cool like feeling. And you know, I find that within all of you ladies who have had the pleasure of being able to meet and play with on the pitch. There was somewhere I was going with this too. Just to have that vision, right? It's very important because that is where I was going with the questions as well. Like, do you want this to be your full time? And, you know, obviously right now it's not necessarily possible because again, you're still working on not necessarily making a profit, but at least breaking even. And that's something you'll find in business is just, you hear it all the time. First 2 years, you're basically in debt. So you're just trying to get out of the hole. And then once you get out of the hole, then you can start building, which sounds like, well, why the fuck would I want to do that then? Because you're building something with what you want to do, what fills your energy rather than takes it away. So I think that's the important part here. So I guess my next question is, what does that look like for you guys? So Amy, I know you're more on the organization and just kind of the timeline. So what is the timeline of like that look for you guys, of like the point of like, sorry, my brain's not functioning right now. You know what I'm saying? So going from like just kind of like breaking even or whatever to actually turning it into
like revenue.
Yeah, revenue. And again, it's not like trying to cheat anybody out of anything, but you guys have to survive too. So, and you're providing an incredible service, and you know, it's going to be reasonable, but it's going to be, you know, it is going to be a business that you want to bring to the people.
Yeah. Well, like we'd like to think like in a couple of years that we would start to see that revenue coming in, only because we want that money to be put back into the business. Like when me and Amy look at like what Slainte Retreats could be in a couple of years' time, I would want it to be maybe franchised, right? So we could have it in like other states, even like another country. Like we would love to do a retreat back home in Ireland, right?
Yeah.
And we'd also love to bring in like more wellness providers, like offer more things like reflexologists, massage therapists, have a nutritionist on site, like build it bigger and bigger. So whenever we do start to kind of like make revenue. We have so many goals for the company that we can't wait to be able to like take that money and put it back in and make it bigger and better. But again, like we started this out thinking, right, we might do 2 retreats in 2022. Like we can't believe that by the end of 2022, we're going to have 5 retreats done, which is insane considering our first one was even in May, right? We didn't even like start it in January. So we're just very, very grateful with like the support and how it's going so far. So yeah, I can't wait to see what way it goes in the next couple of years.
So going
I've always,
go ahead, Amy.
No, I was just going to say, I've always wanted to be my own boss too. Yep. So if I could be my own boss and that job involves organizing an event like once a month or whatever, that would be amazing. Like that's the goal.
Yeah, I'll have an idea for you guys after that too. It's a little further up north, but a potential idea for either next year or the year after. But
Slainte Retreat goes to Hawaii, huh?
Oh, that too. Yeah, that's further west. But no, up to even Lake George too, which is incredible.
Oh yeah,
Lake
George.
My uncle and aunt have a property up there big enough for plenty of tents. I'm just saying, but I don't know if you guys like tents. But it's a good property. Actually, you might not even need it because they might have enough room, but that'll be talks for the future. But yeah, Hawaii, I can definitely help you out here too. But so you said you wanted to originally do 2 retreats this year. Yeah, we're still in 2022. Yeah. So how did it become 5? What was that like? And how did you guys decide to add more?
We did the first one and we were like, right, well, we'll see how this goes. Like, obviously when you start something, you've no idea what's going to happen or like how it's going to be taken on board by anyone. So we had a great turnout, and then we were like, right, we'll do one in May and then we'll do one in the fall because summer's really busy and people are away, etc. So we're like, okay, perfect. And then we had so many people write to us being like, are you going to do someone? Are you going to do someone? We're like, right, feck it. Let's go and do July one. So that's where July came from. And then when we released the July dates, everyone was like, is there going to be more? Is there going to be more? Like, I'm not around in September. I'm not around in October. And then we were kind of just going off people like reaching out to us and sending us DMs. And then they were people that we didn't know, based on top of the people that we did know saying we'd love to do one. So like, right, well, we'll definitely do one in September because that seemed to get great feedback. And then we're like, we'll do one in October because there was so many people that were like definitely interested towards the end of the year. And then we said, December's not really time of the year to be going upstate. So we were like, we'll finish off in November when it just starts to turn. A lot of marathons are happening in November. Like people are recovering and regenerating before they go into the winter months. So that's where the 5th one came from. But it all was based on the feedback and people reaching out to us. Like basically the demand was there and we said we'd just go with it and chance our arm, hope for the best.
Yeah, because you have to listen to like if people want it, we will bring a retreat. Like, so we don't only just do our own retreats. If somebody wants a private retreat, we're also open to that as well, which there has been requests in for that. So say, for example, if you had someone who was putting together a 50th birthday party, right? And they wanted to do this type of retreat. So we would do that as a private retreat, as in we would organize everything, and then that person who's having the party would just bring their guests. So we're open to like private retreats as well, not just
and the corporate ones too. There's been a few requests as well about like company wellness, employee wellness, but I think it's huge right now, and like improving the company's culture and creating a good environment and showing that the company cares. So there's been a few people that have reached out to us about the corporate packages. So that's another thing that we're working on right now as well. Like all to come for Sláinte, because I know the dates that we have now are like just them set dates, but that doesn't mean that we're not available another weekend for a corporate or a private event or whatever, depending. And we can do days as well, or just a 1-night stay compared to a 2-night stay. It all depends on what the guest wants.
Yeah,
which will hopefully fast track your goal of having this be your full time. Which
absolutely,
which will get me into the next part of this. Both of you have full-time jobs that I'm sure take up a whole lot of time. How do you manage keeping your mind sane while you're trying to figure out all of these details? And maybe it's easier for both of you than it is for me, but I get very overwhelmed because I am detail oriented. So that means I'm going to spend far too much time focusing on the details sometimes when I need to just prioritize kind of like the what is first rather than like everything's important. So how do you keep your sanity when you're working your full-time job as you're mentally probably even trying to think of like the Slainte Retreats and marketing, because social media takes time. the content takes time, recording, editing. Well, it's a little easier with, I think, TikTok these days. I've just started to do that. And the editing is definitely much easier. And then you could just send it over to Instagram too. But again, it still takes time writing the shit out, like the stuff out, whatever. You can curse obviously on this podcast, but Jersey, we're all going to curse on this podcast.
I know.
But you know what I mean? So how do you guys, how can you keep your sanity?
I actually have to give kudos to Amy for this, because she will tell you I am so anal and I'm always like, everything has to be perfect. Are we ready to launch this? Are we ready to do Pilates in the park? And she's just like, girl, go. She already has it done, right? She already has the marketing material put together. Amy is a whiz kid. There's a reason why her full-time job is what it is, because I procrastinate, but it's just this fear. It's like, will no one come? Will no one turn up? Is it going to be a fail? And it's Amy's the driving force behind me being like, let's just go. And that's kind of why the relationship works so well in terms of what we're doing, because I would get nothing done because I'm waiting for everything to be absolutely perfect before we do anything. And then you miss the boat. It's the reason why Sláinte wouldn't have ever launched, only that Amy came on board and give it the push that it needed, right? So I think with our relationship, she's the expert in that organization, in social media and marketing. I have my own strengths in other parts of Sláinte, and it's just a matter of like communicating and just trusting each other that we're doing the right thing.
Do you make sure that you spend your whole, just kind of staying with you for a second, Shelly, and then we'll go over to Amy. But when you're at work, is your mind going to this, or are you trying to make sure that you're fully present at work? And then, do you have a specific time of day in which you do this, or it's just kind of when you guys need each other for something? Like, how does that work for you?
So it's funny, because my work is, I'm teaching, health and fitness every single day. So my mind is always like, oh, I can take this information and put it into Sláinte, or this is how I can make Sláinte better, or I'll have like these little flash bulbs. So my mind is always, always, always in health and fitness. It never really turns off, and that's okay, because that's what I love, right? Even like walking down the street, I'm analyzing people's movements, and I'm like, okay, so I need to like make sure that I offer this as part of Slainte Retreats. I'm analyzing people's movements. So it never really switches off from it. And I think it's like, if I started to think about the logistics, or again, like people not turning up, or us not marketing our material at like a certain time of the day that we should, like that, having Amy organize and oversee all of that side of it, and a lot of the financial, like the payment transactions and stuff, it gives me kind of like the space in my head for the creativity side of it. And it kind of, I do now allocate, during the week, I'll allocate a couple of hours out of that week for Sláinte, where I will literally like forget everything else that I'm doing, and I just sit at the desk and I'm doing Sláinte stuff, whether it's planning the Pilates class, whether it's looking at meditation, whether it's putting together content, whether it's putting together some of the verbiage or the talks that I want to give at these retreats. I do allocate my time to it. And if I don't allocate time to it, I allocate time to it like it is my job. If I don't, that's where I start to like feel that like things are building up, and like, oh my God, I'm like starting to get overwhelmed. And then I'll call Amy and I'm like, Amy, talk me off the ledge, which she always does. So I think it's just, you have to be organized and like have time set aside for it. And like when you treat it like a job, like you have to set time aside for that. You will get it done, and then you feel like, then, okay, I can breathe now. I feel organized. Yeah.
And also not treating it like a part-time job. I think that's the main thing I've learned too, is like, I will compromise my main job, my business, because for the job that I'm actually currently making more money in. And I know that sounds like that's how you're supposed to do it, but it's not, because then I'll start to compromise my business and my time working to get money in my business for that. And I need to stop feeling bad about that. So that's something that I'm working on. And one of our other Warrior Women guests, it was Ivy Mix. So she's a mixologist, American bartender. She owns Leyenda in Brooklyn. And she's got like all these other businesses too. But what she said was, many partners mix little work. So, it's each of you has a part to play in it, and it's not for everyone, right? And it's not always, but when you have a good, solid partnership and communication, many partners makes little work. So it takes it a little bit off of each of you. So Amy, let's go to you. So what is your current full-time job? Is it in event planning as well? And also same question for you. How do you keep saying, what is your technique then to having that ability to just be like, to be able to do it and not overthink?
So right now I am an events and operations manager for a consulting firm. So we would deal with a lot of events for clients, like organizing business dinners for them and like attending conferences and stuff like that. But I'm lucky in that my job isn't like a strict 9 to 5, or like I could be dealing with clients in San Francisco or Singapore. So like my time zones are all over the place. So like first thing in the morning is actually like a quiet time for me, because obviously San Fran, the west coast, is 3 hours behind us. Singapore is like in the next day or whatever. So I could be doing my main job to 6 or 7 p.m. sometimes. Now I sound like the cliched New Yorker, like it works 7 p.m. That's absolutely not the case. Like I might answer an email or two in the evening, but I have time to like kind of zip in and out of Sláinte during the day, even though if my boss ever hears this, no, I don't. But I go through these phases as well of like, I might like procrastinate big time, and then I can just do like 3 hours nonstop of like, say, the media stuff, whatever, and I'll do it in a way that I'll get like 2 or 3 things done together. So then say if I know what we need, like right now we have like 2 or 3 things coming up, but I've already the post done because I knew that we had to do them instead of like leaving to the day before. I think if you can do as much as you can in advance, do it, and at least then when it's due, you can edit it or as it is or whatever. But the best time I find to work is like 9, 10 p.m. because I don't really see this as work. Like I'm just sure, that saying, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
But I don't see Sláinte as work. Like I see Sláinte as like me going away for the weekend, and like the prep you put in. Say if you had to plan of a holiday, you would have no issue planning that holiday. You'd be in your element. You'd have the whole itinerary done. But if your boss said to you in work, I need you to like map out, I don't know, like do a course in the company, you're like, oh my God, research can't be it. I think it's all the way you think about it, and like if it excites you. So like Sláinte excites me. So I'm like, oh, it's not work. Like I don't mind doing it at all. So it's like zoning in and out. But also like the way Shelly's like, oh, are we worried about this and that? Like my favorite saying is, nobody gives a fuck about you. Like there's so many people here, and like if I said to you right now, think of the first person you met today you didn't know, like tell me 3 things about them, like you have no idea, because it's not like they're irrelevant, but you just don't think about them because like what they're doing is what they're doing, what you're doing is what you're doing. You have to remember, like nobody gives a fuck. So if you can just keep like forwarding on yourself with that mentality, be like, whether I do this or I don't do this, I'm going to be in the same position, someone else's provision. Like they're not going to know if I did it or not. So like I could do something and fail or not do it, but I'll be in the same position if I don't do it. Like, or if I do it and fail. Whereas if you don't take that leap, how are you going to know? Yeah. So you might as well just do it. Like I listened to a podcast, this is like years ago, and it was about a guy who's Irish, and he's a huge personal trainer in Ireland now. His name is Davey Nutrition.
Oh,
no, it's Davey Nutrition. He's actually class.
Oh, I love him. And I know Brian Keane as well.
Yeah. But his mother had said to him, he was a primary school teacher. And like for a man in Ireland, like it's very fast track to get to principal because there's not that many primary school teachers. Obviously principal is top of the crop, blah, blah, blah. And he was kind of like on track to be principal, but he was miserable, hated his life, whatever. And he said that his mother said to him, like, well, what do you want to do? He's like, I want to be a personal trainer. And she was like, right, well, if you become a personal trainer today and in 6 months' time it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if you stay where you are and you don't become a personal trainer, in 6 months' time, you're going to be in the same place as you are if it didn't work. And I just think that's always told me so much. Like, I'd rather know that I tried it and failed it than that I never tried it.
Yeah. And you know what? In terms of like, that's so true what you're saying, Amy, because like with Slainte Retreats, I knew that like this was going to be hopefully a great thing or something that like the public needed. And like, I could have still, only that Amy came on board, I would have still been sitting here thinking about it, or somebody else would have taken that idea and I would have had to sit and watch them run with it. You know what I mean? Like we do have to like just face the fear and just go for it. Like just do it anyway. And that's kind of why it was so amazing having Amy coming in and just being that push and being like, look, this is a good thing we're doing. Let's just go for it. Right? Because if we don't, someone else is going to come in and do it anyway, you know?
Yeah. But even like touch wood, say Sláinte doesn't work out, it will because it's already doing well. But like nobody's going to turn around and be like, oh, 2 dickheads, what were they at? Like they'd be like, oh, do you know, fair play to them. Like they did more than I would do. That's the way I see it. It's like,
at least we tried.
At least we tried. And there's so many people, like even if you think of it, like businesses that I've seen come and go, but they kind of like usually like whittle out, and I don't be sitting there in bed on a Friday night being like, losers, like get going. Like, I think that's the mentality around a lot of people that want to do something. It's your own self that's holding you back, and it's what you think what someone else is going to think. So what someone else thinks, like, you're not in their head, you don't know what they're thinking. Like, just deal with yourself, worry about yourself, and let them do their thing and you do your thing. And that's what I love about New York. Nobody gives a shit here. You could literally walk down the street in a black trash bag and they'd be like, oh, like, it's just crazy. And that's why I love New York.
New York gives you a sense of freedom that you don't have anywhere else, because for that 100%. Reason alone, if you don't do it in New York, you're really not going to do it anywhere, right? Because as you say, no one really cares. You could get away with doing anything, wearing anything. No one actually really does care, you know. No. So,
and even if they do, then they're clearly not paying too much attention to what they're doing.
Exactly. Like, they have nothing else to focus on if they're focused on you.
Right. So they're clearly not trying it. They're not doing it, but they're going to be the ones that try to make you feel bad and make you feel like you're doing, oh, well, somebody else has done it. Guess what? There's a lot of people in this world. Like, you know, there's enough to go around. And that's something that I'm learning because I'm very competitive.
Oh, really?
I don't know if you guys know. My face is getting red now for those listeners. I've mentioned it a few times on this podcast too, but I'm very competitive, for better or worse. It can drive you, but it can also stop you and incite that fear. Even though competition's good, it can also put, like, again, fear in you, and fear enough to where you think you're not good enough. Yeah. And it's just learning to not let that part in and using your competitiveness to strive for the best of yourself. I mean, yes, you are concentrate on yourself and compete against yourself and all that stuff, but it's nice to have somebody next to you still. Like, every time Shelly was next to me running on the pitch for that last sprint drill, like, I was, I know someday she might be in better shape and most of the times, but I was like, I'm going to fucking try and beat her in this though. Like, but not to best her, but to know that I can, like, for me, and to have that reference, and some days she might be me and other days, one day, maybe I might beat her, you know what I mean? So it's that, having that, again, it's your team. It's not being bitter if that does happen. It's understanding, like, fuck, like, okay, I gotta
work harder.
Right. And, and it helps though to have your teammate that is going to be positive, because we've had the experience, or at least I have, where I've had teammates, not just on, like, in Camogie, but in past, like, teams where it's like, you have that one person or a couple people that are dickheads. And it's just like, doesn't need to be like that. You don't need to yell at me in the field. Like, we're on the same team. Like, build each other up, help each other in a positive way. It doesn't have to be all fucking sunshine and rainbows, but like, there's way to be honest and positive. So, where was I going with this?
Yeah, because that can really knock your confidence as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, if things like that, someone shouting at you, somebody giving you a hard time, it's like, it really does shake your confidence. And like, I would have always struggled with my confidence over the years. And I think, like, even now, like, doing this with Amy, like, Amy would say that now, where, like, I do hold back a little bit because I'm always, like, so and even though, like, I know I'm confident in what I do, sometimes I just need that push. Because old me is, like, still in my head being like, no, you're not good enough, you're not going to do this is not going to go well, so it's nice to have, like, someone in your corner to kind of, like, lift you up when you're feeling a little bit shaky,
and to help you to understand, to let that stuff go. Like I said, you can say nobody gives a fuck, and then you get that one person, you're like, see, somebody does give a fuck, but it doesn't matter. You're right, because it's like, we control how we respond, and how it's either we react or respond. A reaction is more feelings based, right? And our feelings do count, but it's how we can harness them. So we learn that a lot in Jeet Kune Do and martial arts, is how to not just immediately react out of anger or whatever. It's like, respond quickly, but make sure, like, the more that you train and the more that you practice this, even in this sense, the better that you're going to be able to respond with something either classy or just, something a little bit, not that aren't classy right now, but something where you're not letting it affect you in the way that it does right now. Cause I have that same thing, I'll let that happen. And then I have to kind of check myself to be like, why do I care? Like, why do I care what they're telling me right now? Like, I'm doing what I need to do, and they're going to have their opinion, they're like assholes. Everybody's got an opinion, but you
might as well give them something to talk about if they're going to talk about you.
Exactly. And to Amy's point too, and to Amy, your drive in this, and you're like, just fucking go with it. Like, that's been my business motto since I think I got here, is like, I would overthink so much on every email, every text message, personal text messages. I would sit there and think like, oh, how is this going to be taken? Period, no period, like all this dumb shit. And then I've stopped myself from doing that. The moment I start, I'm like, just send it. Just send it, and just send it's become a motto. And they say that even in surfing too, like send it. So I'm just using that as the business motto. Just send it. So whenever you get that moment of fear or stopping yourself, Shelly, just fucking stop yourself in your tracks and just send it.
Just send it. Or call Amy.
Yeah, call Amy. I'm gonna be calling Amy too. I'll be like, help.
My phone is always open to you, Paula.
Aw, I just need you guys in your hurls here. Okay, that's not good.
You don't need me in my hurl, don't you worry. You need Shelly's hurl. You don't need me in the hurl.
Yeah. You're primarily footballer, is that it? Is that
why way more football, yeah.
No, that's okay too.
Never learned to stick now.
Nah, I have to like come see you play at some point, because I was like, why do I never play with Amy? How do I know her? How did I get on this team with her? But I love her. Yeah, guys, if for anybody listening, if you ever like watch like the Liberty Gales live recordings or games, like it's Amy Brett doing the voiceover or the announcing. What would you say? The commentating.
Commentary.
Oh my God, you're fucking class at it. It's so funny. The last one I listened to, I was cracking up, like just your reactions to it. I'm like, I know. But no, it's amazing that you guys have gone into business together, and there's so much more to learn. There's so much more, like if you leave yourselves open to grow, to learn from each other, to learn from your guests, there's so much that this can do. And again, like, of course there's going to be other companies that are doing this too, but you guys are unique. Each person is unique. Like, maybe what you're doing isn't necessarily, I mean, I think it is, but it's just, there's always going to be someone else out there, but it's going to be different no matter what. Like, again, with martial arts schools, it's like, okay, I teach Jeet Kune Do, and there's someone down the street that might teach Jeet Kune Do, but it's going to be different. And that's actually what Bruce Lee's art and concept of Jeet Kune Do is all about. It's about making it uniquely your own. So even though we're doing maybe similar things, it's never going to be the same, because I'm not going to use the same tactics necessarily that someone else will. And we're not going to use them in the same combination at the exact same time. It might be similar, but it's always going to be different, and different enough to where you're going to be able to draw people and be able to help them out. So even if it's just one person that you can help, that's going to make a world of difference to them and to you. So just kind of winding down here, guys, if there's one thing that you want our listeners, whether they're beginning entrepreneurship, they're maybe thinking about it, whether they are working that 9 to 5, like typical in New York, or whatever their case may be, maybe they're out of the job and they're like, what am I going to do? Or they're really well-established entrepreneurs and they're looking to work with some people and hear about what other people are doing. What would you like to leave them with today? What would you like them to take away from this conversation?
I think my biggest thing is just follow your heart. Like, I have done, this is my 3rd career, right? And whenever I qualified as a nurse way back, and, I was working for over 10 years as a nurse, and like, I always kind of labeled myself as a nurse, right? I have to stay in nursing, right? And then I came to New York and I was like, oh, I could do something else here. I could actually do something else I'm passionate in. Like, I don't have to pigeonhole myself as a nurse, right? So I think if there's something in your head telling you to go for it, like, really tune in and listen to it, right? So I kind of always wanted to do something in the health and fitness world again out here, and I feel that, like, even though I'm not directly doing my nursing, but like, I know I'm doing a job that I absolutely love. It does tie in my nursing, it does tie in personal training, and then I'm building this on the side, Slainte Retreats, which I'm so passionate about, with somebody who is just in my corner and is just as passionate. And I think if I had have just said to myself, no, but I have to stay in nursing, that's what I qualified in, that's what I have to do, I wouldn't be doing any of this. I wouldn't have had all this experience. So biggest takeaway is, like, if you want to do something, just fucking go for it. Just do it. Take the risk.
Just send it.
Just send it. Just send it. I love that. I'm going to use that more. Send it.
And then Amy, I'm going to go to you with the same question, but just to kind of, I can't talk about it enough, but Jeet Kune Do, it's an art and philosophy, and you did it. You did it by using your experience. It's not only making it uniquely your own, but absorbing what's useful and making it uniquely your own. And through learning and adapting, being able to adapt and incorporate and get rid of what isn't useful, and then just keep, you can kind of cycle it too, however it works, in different combinations of what works for you, and it could better those other avenues as well that you've used. So Amy, going to you, same question. What would you like to leave our listeners with today, whomever they may be?
I would say find, as Shay said in your corner, find someone that believes in you and then lean on them when you don't believe in yourself. Because sometimes you just need that like little push, and like your own self-confidence is always going to hit at you. But if you have someone there being like, no, you've like, you're doing this, you've got this, like keep going. Like it doesn't need to be like, we're so lucky that we've literally an army behind us. And like, we've been so blessed with like the Irish Breakfast Box, Mario's, there's been yoga teachers come board, like Laura Dorgan, Neve's obviously been massive, Brendan D, all of them. But if you even have that one person that can just reassure you when you aren't fully confident in yourself, like it can be anyone, it doesn't even have, it could be even a mentor, a business mentor, it doesn't have to be someone that, you know, like you don't need to have thousands of friends or to set up a business, but you need to have someone in your corner that's going to be like, no, keep going, because once you have them, you can take over the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being on here today. And we're definitely going to have you back on to see where you're at, where Slainte Retreats is at, and just how the continued progress goes. And
oh no, we'll be doing a retreat for your Camogie team this time next year.
I love it.
I certainly hope so, because I'm ready.
We'll manifest that. That's going to happen.
Yeah. Right now, it's definitely going to be probably co-ed. So
that's
hopefully
fine.
Everyone's down for
we'll be doing co-ed by then. So that's perfect.
Fuck yeah. Well, guys, you're amazing. We'll talk a little bit more after this too. But was there anything else that you guys wanted to add before we head out? Like when the next retreat is and any of that? Oh, how about like the important information, like your contact, where people can find you?
Well, we're on Instagram as Slainte Wellness Retreats, and it's also our website, www.slainteretreats.com. And like to be honest, our Instagram is probably the best place to find us. Our emails, we are very responsive on the messages. It comes through straight away usually. And then our next retreat is September 16th to 18th. And then following that, we have October 7th to 9th. And then after that, we have November, I want to say the 23rd, 25th.
Yes, it's the 20-something.
Yes, know. I'm nearly sure it's the 23rd. We should know that, but we're just we're wound up with September right now.
Sorry, November 18th. That's actually
November 8th.
That's going to be a joint retreat with Clan Health. And when we talk about people supporting us, Clan Health has been massive in getting behind us. Shimmy Keane, a great friend of ours, just again someone in our corner. And we're doing a joint hike with Clan Health now on September 10th. We're bringing our two communities together. So we're doing a joint retreat with them on the end of November, which we're super excited about.
Is that 10th? That's September 10th?
Yep. Yeah.
Is that a Friday?
Saturday.
No, it's a Saturday. I will be home for my birthday, which is September 11th. So maybe I can meet up with you guys for a day hike.
Oh my God, deadly.
Yeah, I'm coming home for like not terribly excited or happy stuff, but you know what, it's family stuff I got to do. And then I was planning on coming to New York for like the second week for at least like a couple of days to train and do what else. But hey, if there's a hike one day before my birthday, maybe I have to do it.
Yes, girl, would love that.
So we'll have to be in touch about that. But Amy, Shelly, thank you so much again for being on the Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship podcast. I can't wait for listeners to tune in and just to hear your story, and again to just see how you grow. And if you guys are in New York, or if you're willing to travel to New York to go meet them, they are a great crack, as we say, which is just a lot of fun, good energy, and they got your back. So guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Polo. Thank you.
No worries. Aloha, guys. Please be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as download our episodes. You can download on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those. And it really helps us to grow and be able to have more guests on here to be able to share their experiences, their knowledge, and understanding of how to create a successful business, which we are all trying to do or thinking about doing. So again, whether you are a first-time entrepreneur, you're trying to build it now but don't know where to start, or you're a successful entrepreneur already and you're looking to work with other entrepreneurs in a certain field, we have people on here from all different walks of life and different types of businesses. So please be sure to like and to share these episodes, your favorite ones or any ones that you just are really feeling that day. So be sure to share those and tag us in there. You can tag us at TascoFit. And you can also hashtag WWWE podcast, or if you want to spell it all out, Warrior Women in the World of Entrepreneurship. So just hashtag any of those. And we really appreciate you guys. So please help us out with that. And we will keep bringing to you more guests so that we can continue to learn. Aloha, guys.